printing press, the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
Woodman, brother, what's going on?
Good morning, Patriots. Good morning, Patriots.
Good morning.
Grab that coffee.
It's early. I'm getting all kinds of glitches here on my end with the software, but I don't think it records that way. I don't think anyone else has seen it but me. But boy, oh boy, will it be hard to look at that unless it stops.
Uh-oh.
I don't know. I opened up maybe one too many. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, it looks like it. Ooh. Maybe it stopped. Maybe it didn't.
All right.
But no, I mean, how's the stream for everybody? Can I get a? I'm sure audio is great, but what's is it 5 of 5? No audio.
Whoa.
Do we have audio?
I can hear you anyway. Can you hear me?
Ooh. Buffering. 5 of 5. Some are saying 5 of 5. For anyone that's saying, okay, a lot of people are saying it's good. It's good. It's the maybe one or two people buffering. For those of you buffering, just jump out, jump right back in. It looks like everything calmed down on my end here. We're good. Anyway, what's going on, Woodman? How was your weekend?
Oh, fantastic, man. I pretty lucky at the Legion. I never gamble, and if I do, it's only like $5 or $10. And believe it or not, I won like $200 or $300 this weekend.
Wow.
$100 boards, just minimum money in there. But what I done was I put it back in the kitty because if you think about it, everybody, we need to keep supporting our legions. So that's why I did that. I mean, I could have saved the money and took it home because I am pretty strapped all the time. But in the same token, I want to make sure all of us veterans and their families have a place to go. So just put the money back. It didn't hurt me none at all. It didn't kill me any. And it, like I say, to a good cause. Yeah. That's about it. Besides watching you, I'll tell you what, man. Good Lord, son. All I got to say is God is definitely in you deep, because you just know what to dig up and how to display it, so people can really understand. As really fantastic. Uh,
Morning,
I'll leave it at
Randy.
that. I don't
No, you're
want to
fine.
pump you up too much.
Yeah,
You
no,
pop
don't.
off those headsets there.
It's a great morning here, folks. We're just getting started. It's 8:00. What is it? Oh, right above my head here.
Oh yeah.
0818. I'm still getting some glitchies over here. It's not going to fix itself possibly until I restart the computer, but we'll get this off. You guys are seeing it fine, hearing it fine. We'll just somebody just commented there need more women's voices on the show. Just saying. We're not opposed. We're not opposed. It's just most of my life has been talking to buddies about this. I've discussed I've talked to lots of women, don't get me wrong, but we'll keep that in mind moving forward. We do got lots of mods that have called in. Amy the mod, we got Randy's here. Good morning, Randy. That's about the only mod I see hanging out. It's early. We don't expect everybody to be here. And plus, people are busy in the mornings, and we got the time changes around the U.S. So depending on where our mods are at, I know, like, for example, Amy's an hour behind us. So right now it's like the heart of the time to get the kids up, off to school, do your, parenting duties. So we get it. We get it. Everyone's saying they got great audio. So.
Yeah, a lot of our mods are actually female people. They're not all female.
Oh yeah,
not
it didn't happen that way. It's just some of the repeating people early on. It was one, then one led to another, and I took the recommendations. I mean, we got Watchful Warrior again. Shout out to him. Still haven't seen him back. Have you, Woodman? I think he's still down and out right now.
No, he's. I've been checking into this too. History B had some information come out on her channel. According to what I've been hearing so far, the accident actually did happen at his house.
Yes.
And something, he fell off.
Did I not?
Like a balcony or something.
I got an update from Amy the mod. So it was at his house over the weekend of Labor Day, last weekend of the summer, typically. And something to do with his son tripping on like a hose and then landing on his on Greg Watchful. Again, I guess his son's, big, tall, 6'+", 6'+", 6'2", 6'3", and pretty big boy. Fell on dad, or fell into dad. Dad flew off deck, type thing.
Yeah.
And then landed. I guess he shattered his elbow, and then ended up having like a broken rib or two. So it's pretty serious, actually, folks. I was thinking it like I didn't know the details, so. I might have said something. It's not too bad. He's doing all right, but he is doing all right. But it is pretty serious. But he's doing all right. Plus, he's locked up or been in the hospital. He didn't want to be there Who wants to be there the last weekend of the summer? I hate hospitals, so we feel with him on that. We feel for him. So again, send some prayers over to Watchful Warrior, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. What else did you find out, Woodman?
He has a new elbow, so half of his arms are.
Little bionic,
yeah,
a little smart elbow.
And, yeah, and then of course he's got all those vertebrae in his back that they're going to have, I suppose, fuse together.
Yeah.
I won't let them do that to mine. My back's in really bad shape too. But heck, I'm old. I'll just deal with it, But that poor guy, man, holy cow! That just a normal accident at home, having a great time with the family and stuff, and
then all that.
Well, yeah, and like I said, just an accident too,
All right, we got Grillin's in the room.
There we go.
Good morning.
Right.
Good morning. Somebody told us personally. Alton Barnes. Good morning, Michael, Woodman, and Patriots. Yes, good morning to all Patriots worldwide. Now, I did want to, with 9/11 coming up, which we all hold near and dear. Everyone remembers. It's one of them things. Everyone remembers where they're at. And I would imagine back in the day, like with JFK, not Junior, morning Amy the mod, I would imagine everyone remembers like JFK when he got shot. If that was your time, like if you're at least 12 years old or older, 10 years old and older, the shock of that. You're looking at adults crying in your presence. What's going on? Then you look at adults crying. You look at the TV. You see JFK being blasted on the news. You would have picked up at 10 years old. It would have been singed in your mind, and you would remember that. Now I kind of remember the Challenger in 1985 when that went up and blew up, and there was a teacher on board. You know, that was a pretty big event that seared into my mind. Now, what I don't know if I've made history up by this, but like they probably would have played that for a whole week on the news back in 1985. Same with JFK back in the 60s. And same with 9/11. So for people that are young looking at that, they might think they remember the actual date and where they were, but it might have been a week later in the scheme of things when you look back 20 years, because you don't know, at 10 years old, or for me in the 1980s, this is what I'm getting to. That Challenger blew up at a certain time that I probably wasn't around watching TV at that time. I was either at school, or if it was summer, like at a babysitter's, and it probably was like later on that evening or the next day. But the way that the news was, and as little as you are, it just sears in your mind. It's all within that little period. Point of this being, and I don't know, but Mueller helped the Saudis cover up involvement in the 9/11 attacks, and we're basically 2 days away from the anniversary. My ship, we were involved. We had just got done floating for 3 weeks down by Cuba, Florida, doing operations, and we were all looking forward to coming back in after 3 weeks long out to sea, doing some workups. And I remember already being back into civilian clothes, and because we were that close. Early that morning, I went out on the skin of the aircraft carrier, and I saw Virginia Beach to my left, very close, and I knew we were close to the locks. The tugboats come out, start hooking us up, and they drag us through the locks and got us back into the Norfolk, to the base, to the pier. Well, we were almost at that point, getting hooked up, and then we got the call. My chief come running down, and he's like, "Turn on the TV," because our ship had direct TV. We had satellite TV on it. And we flip it on, go to the news, and of course they're showing one smoking tower, and he's like, man, he's just scratching his head, talking to me. He's like, I just don't, Andrews, I don't understand how, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, even if the equipment fails in these planes anymore, even back in early, 2000, I'm thinking, you look out the window, and you have a steering wheel, you move, how does that happen? So then as we're all discussing this, watching it, boom, that second one hits. And you see that live, or however, because we're focused on the burning building. And then at that point, we all knew it wasn't something much, much different. And then it came across the 1MC on it. This is the captain of the G-Dub. We're going to be shooting up there. We already got, so we never pulled in, right back into working uniform. And we modified Zebra around the ship, which is closing all the doors and, buttoning them down. So, because you didn't know what the issue was. And then we ended up going up there and arriving the next morning, or sometime on the 12th, early morning hours, and we flew like 237 sorties off of our ship, 237. Flew over the city for the next about a week, definitely the next 2-3 days very heavily, even though there's a no-fly order across the whole U.S., no commercial airliners, but here's the military. And just so the fire departments and the first responders on the scene could look up and know that there was good fellas up there, right? Good guys, women, pilots from the U.S. Armed Forces, keeping an eye on the city, so nothing else is going to be coming down on them. But so you ask people, you do, in my research, you look into like I said, JFK would have been something similar to that for anyone of my age, at least back then. And you ask like George W. Herbert Walker Bush, the senior, where were you when JFK got shot? And he couldn't remember or recall. Now, yet there's photos of him being down in actual Dallas. And if he was there, you wouldn't forget that shit. Oh yeah, that's right, I was there, man. It's like, where were you on 9/11? I don't remember. A couple of buildings falling. Oh yeah, I was there at the base of those buildings falling. Thanks for reminding me. It's kind of bullshit. So That was my point. I remember very well where I was. Most people I've ever talked to that aren't of any, just normal, oh, I was at work. We just got done, I mean, everyone remembers. So it's kind of funny that George, that he worked for the CIA. There's implications. We got 4 pages left that Trump's going to release for the JFK files eventually. And supposedly that names the actual plotters and conspirators. And it's going to implicate George Bush Sr. So, of course he didn't remember. A man of his, head of the CIA, goes on to be vice president, goes on to be president.
Right.
But his memory sucks on things when it comes, it's the same thing with like Hillary. It's like Hillary. They can't remember none of their security protocols. Me and you,
Right.
we've gone through the service. We had our security stuff. And you don't really forget that. If you're going to handle security stuff, I mean, even if you're in the business of handling, if you're in the medical field and you're in the business of disposing of needles, you don't really forget that protocol one time on accident and stab yourself. Like, oops, I forgot to do this and do that. You do it day in and day out, so you do it. It's weird. She was for Hillary, I would imagine even before Bill was president, they were governor, so they dealt with like state level secrets. Like that this security stuff would have been embedded into her throughout these years. And then being, first lady, she would have had going through, and then after that being head of the, multiple positions, multiple times that she went through security detail briefings and classes and had to sign off. And then to do, we all know it. We all know it's just a big. But anyway, this article here, I wanted to just jump into a little bit here, Woodman. And again, this is the ties of these people for millennia. It seems like they just, from one thing, like we're here, everyone knows Robert Mueller now for Trump and the Russia thing, but do you know his past and where it goes back in time a little bit, and where was he at? Perhaps for 9/11. Well. This article jumps into that a little bit. I've known this just in my research. I've never done a video really, perhaps. Maybe I have. I don't know. I got about 1,250 videos out. We have covered lots of stuff, folks. But in light of everything coming up in the next few days, this is a 47-minute ago article. It just came out. Mueller helped the Saudis cover up involvement in 9/11 attacks. There's a lawsuit. So Robert Mueller pitched as an incorruptible beacon of justice when he was tasked with unsuccessful hunting down ties between Donald Trump and Russia, was nothing more than a hatchet man for the deep state, who participated in a cover-up of Saudi Arabia's role in 9/11, according to a new report by the New York Post, Paul Sperry, citing former FBI investigators and a new lawsuit by 9/11 victims. According to Sperry, Mueller stonewalled after FBI agents discovered evidence of multiple systematic efforts by Saudi government to assist the hijackers in lead up to the 9/11 attacks. While the former FBI director allegedly covered up evidence pointing back to Saudi embassy and Riyadh, and may have even misled Congress about what he knew. Interesting. He was a master when it comes to covering up the kingdom role in 9/11, said Sharon Permola, a September 11th survivor who was pulled out of the rubble of the World Trade Center and is now suing Saudi Arabia as a plaintiff in the new lawsuit. Make this a little bigger here, folks. I'm even having trouble reading that. So, she's suing Saudi. In October of 2001, Mueller shut down the government's investigation after only 3 weeks, and then took part in the Bush campaign to block, obstruct, and generally stop anything about Saudi Arabia from being released, she added. Any letting the Saudis off the hook came from the White House. Any letting off the Saudis off the hook came from the White House, said former agent Mark Rosani, adding, I can still see the photo of Bandar and Bush enjoying cigars on the balcony of the White House 2 days after 9/11. So just 2 days after 9/11. It is interesting. So, speaking with multiple FBI case agents, now we're over at Zero Hedge. Sperry lists a series of incidents describing Mueller throwing up roadblocks in front of his own investigators, making it easier for Saudi suspects to escape questioning. And according to the lawsuit, Mueller deep sixed what evidence his agents did manage to uncover. Time and time again, agents were called off from pursuing leads back to the kingdom's embassy in Washington. Wow, why did that jump? Ads will do that. As well as its consulate in Los Angeles, where former FBI agent Stephen Moore headed a 9/11 task force looking into local contacts made by 2 of the 15 Saudi hijackers. Moore testified in an affidavit for the 9/11 lawsuit. He concluded that the diplomatic and intelligence personnel of Saudi Arabia knowingly provided material support to 2 hijackers and facilitated the 9/11 plot. Yet he and his team were not allowed to interview them, according to the suit. In Washington, former FBI agent John Gianardolo, who worked terror cases out of the Bureau's D.C. office, said then Saudi Ambassador Prince Bandar should have been treated as a terrorist suspect for giving money to a woman who funded 2 of the 9/11 hijackers, but he was never even questioned. Instead, Mueller obliged Gandolo called an outrageous request from Bandar within days of the attacks to help evacuate the country's dozens of Saudi officials, including at least one Osama bin Laden relative on the terror watch list. Mueller assured their safe passage to planes, using agents as personal escorts. According to the FBI documents obtained by Judicial Watch, agents should have been interrogating the Saudis instead of acting as their bodyguards. Now, we do know this, that even with the no flight going on for the next several days, that they did fly some of, bin Laden's family out of the country. They just talked about it there. I mean, this is just and that would be, anybody else would be a suspect. But yet, they're like, oh, hey, come on, and we'll use our tax dollars. And so I'll leave a link for that article. It's a pretty lengthy one, but it's pretty interesting. Yep. Again, welcome all, anybody just joining in. We are
here for you.
Here for you, going over some stories and just, breaking it down.
Hey, man, how do you... I really get a kick out of watching Greg Gutfeld, man. I'll tell you what, that guy is just hilarious, man. Have you seen the one that he done for, like, it says for Trump-obsessed media? It's all bad all the time.
Yeah.
Have you seen that little clip he done?
He's on the 5 or whatever, right? Or not the 5, but he does.
Yeah.
He's part of the 5. Yeah.
I think it's the 5. Yeah. He's hilarious, man. I mean, but I'll tell you what he reminds me of, a radical you, because you come up with the same stuff. You just don't display it in the same manner,
Yeah. He's a little more comedic, I think, or tries to be or whatever.
Yeah. But it's good info though. I mean,
No,
it truly is.
There's a few I watch over there, and I'll tune into that sometimes. That other guy, Jesse, that's on there, Jesse Walters, he's decent. He's a little Epstein.
You also see the thing about Ted Cruz and how he was talking about, all the states down there. They have to come up with all this funds come out of their funds come out of their let's say federal income to take care of all these extra people that's coming into the border people. Just imagine now, like, okay, they get medical, they get food stamps, they get, all kinds of welfare help and all that stuff. Now this all comes out of the state pocket. Just imagine what these states are going through. I mean, that's really terrible. I didn't write all the numbers down, but it's astronomical. It's just terrible. And here's another thing too. He points out, and this is a really good fact people keep forgetting. the Democrats a long time ago allocated more money back then for the wall than what President Trump is getting. You know what I mean? And they okayed all that stuff back then. Why not now? Well, okay, because it's Trump's idea. But they keep forgetting about they were already allocated that money. Of course, we don't know what happened to that money, but that was approved way back then, Mike. You know,
Wow.
people forget that. It's a shame.
Did you see my video on Epstein yesterday? On like
Yep.
the list of names. So there's a
Yeah.
new article out this morning. It says a journalist who was offered a massage at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion suspected the billionaire financier was running a honey trap blackmail scheme on behalf of a intelligence agency. So just like we've been saying, it just seems like that would be something he's doing. I can see that, getting people to come over, putting small kids by him. He was involved in it too. Then you get all that blackmail on people, and you're able to extort money out of them, maybe, perhaps. Nobody knows how he got his money. Now, I just don't think, even if all that's true, that he would be doing that all on his own. Like, I'm going to do this, do that, rise up, and without being able to be offed and killed by trying to blackmail some. Eventually, if you did about 100 people, one of them 100 people are going to do something in retaliation to you. You wouldn't be able to just float around, and then it seemed like these people would hang out. It's not, hey, I got dirt on you. You're going to come back and hang out and be my good buddy next weekend. We're going to go do some boating and stuff. All right, man, you got me. I mean, it seems like all the pictures are all happy and everyone's just there to hang out. Not like, I don't want to be here, but he's making me be his friend because he's got blackmail.
Right.
So who's he working for? That's what we want to know. What intelligence agency? Because that's the only feasible. I mean, the guy's island was wired up like a router. I mean, everything coming in and out. It was like he had it all. So anybody that visited his island, just that alone, just that technical alone. It's just like Hillary and her email server. It wasn't like she tripped and rolled over and stood up and she had created a server. They really thought this out. We need to get everything off their network, and that way we have control. We do this, and then when time comes, we give them, the government, what we deem they need. And that's pretty powerful. And to me, that means, and then she tried to act really stupid about it. Like, yeah, I said it was a mistake to have a server at my one home. And it's like, yeah, who helped you set that up, and who told you that it was necessary for you to do it that way for the 4 years you were going to be somebody that you knew you're going to be selling SAP access, special access programs. And that's what's going to come out, that they're, China, they had access, they paid enough money to have direct access, and Hillary was just fine with that. That's what's scary, folks. I mean, these people are truly, truly, truly anti-American, or they just don't care. I mean, they're from here, they're American, but they really didn't care. As long as they were promised a special seat on the boat or the plane or in this other country, they cared not. That's how much they didn't care. As the shit went downhill here and total chaos ensued, as long as they can be on this island over here and be okay. So maybe that was the idea,
Who knows, man? Who knows? Deep State's really crazy. Well, I have to say something. We're going to back up here a little bit. JFK, I was a young man, and I remember that. And the scuttlebutt back then was, no kidding, they actually were talking, the people amongst themselves were actually talking about how they didn't call it the Deep State then. I can't remember what their terminology was, but
well, yeah,
they were
all that really means. Well, Joe M says it, Woodman, that the Deep State, which is a name that Trump has made household now, and that name is just a surfaceable name, but really, it goes much, much deeper. It goes all the way. It's Illuminati. It goes deeper into that and what's behind all that and what these people do. But anyway, go on. You're right. There's been multiple names.
Then after that, people started kind of digging into like the weeks prior to the assassination and came up with that speech. I don't have it recorded myself, but came up with a speech to the American people about how, like I said, didn't mention the word deep state. He would say people. He's talking about, how ugly these people are, how evil they are, and if we don't stand together, they're going to take over.
Who are you talking about, JFK?
Yep. That's why they killed him.
The one in like my video that I open it up with, that where he's talking about the press and how it's their job and duty to.
No, it's different than that. I can't even remember. I'll find it. I don't remember how long it is, but it is a real lengthy speech, and it points out, like I say, certain areas that we have to really pay attention to, and also stay awake to our government. Do not let the government
in his one
run
speech he
over
talks
us.
about. In his one speech he talks about it's an embedded system into our diplomat, politicians, into our educational, scientifical. He tells you that it's embedded and it comes by armies by day or by night, not by day. Armies by night, not by day, and they're going to come
Right.
overtly. But that's the one where
Right.
he's calling out the Fed Reserve as well and stuff. That's a lot
Right.
of people say that's the speech that got him killed right there. That was the speech.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. That's just what the government.
I hate to admit it because you know what, I didn't really care about all that stuff for a long time, and now the deeper I dig, I really feel stupid because I could have, been red pilled a long time ago and could have actually been involved more. I just personally I didn't really care until all this stuff started getting real crazy, and then Mike and I and Ben was talking, and that's when I really actually got involved. And boy, I'm learning really fast, but I had no idea that our government was actually that corrupt because what I'd only seen for all those years was fake news and didn't realize it was fake news. So therefore, all those years, that's what I went by was what I seen on TV, meeting Ben and Mike and a few others turned me around and hey, look, I have a computer. This is like way out of my league. Anyway, the tremendous amount of things that I have actually learned now that I had my blinders on before. I could only see so far. I see inside the box that I created myself because I was listening to the wrong people. Now the walls of the box have been knocked down, and I'm actually becoming a sponge. And it's a lot for my antiquated brain, but I'm hanging
and
in
that's
there.
how it works. You just described all of us at one point. I mean, that's the game, folks. That's the system. That is exactly what Woodman just described there. I mean, we live in a day and age where when somebody feels the cognitive dissonance, when they hear something in one ear, just one little drip that doesn't resonate with them, alarms go off and they get hot, like a heat wave comes over you, and they want to just start yelling at you to shut up. That's not right, because that goes beyond what they know. Most people don't like to sit there and have a conversation and only hear about things they don't know the whole conversation. They can't talk back. They don't have any responses. Their alarms are going off. They're getting all hot and sweaty, and one thing is enough. But if you sit there and just keep telling them things that they don't know, they're going to react back with the only thing they know, which is the only thing they have in their tool bag, which is mainstream media propaganda. So that's a very, very powerful tool. Remember, we live in a world where somebody that's cutting through a living room and hears something, stops and gets a mainstream story in about 1 second, will hold on to that, and you can sit there and tell them, well, I dug into that for 2 weeks. I went and talked to that girl's mother. I went and talked to their school. I know people. I read papers, and I dug, and I found this out. And you can tell them all these things, and if they don't know, all they heard was that from CNN or Fox News, they think you're the conspiracy person for digging into it for 2 weeks and coming to a different conclusion, what they think they know. And they were spoon-fed theirs. But they still are taught that that's the right way, and you digging into it, you're crazy. You're the conspiracy. What would you know? And even though all evidence would point to that you are probably more accurately right than they, it's hard for anyone to admit that. So that's the game. That's half the game right there. It's half the battle, anyway.
You know. Yep.
So yeah. I can see that, Woodman. And you're...
Well, I really thank you and Ben for actually opening my eyes. Even though I was a member of the Legion, people, I was a member of the Legion, and we didn't per se discuss all that stuff. We just kind of hang around and talk, war stories or whatever. And then comes Mike and Ben. I think Mike was first. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But they came about the same time. And lo and behold, we really hit it off, and they started talking about these things.
Let me put a little reference on that. Ben met in school in college, going through Linux and security courses for computers, and we're getting our systems, Cisco certification and whatnot. But I believe we met in a Linux course. But and this would have been back in like 07, late 07. No, I ended up moving to the area in 2010, late 2010, early 11, going through a divorce, working with the VA, and at the time, like, well, join some organizations. There's VFWs, Legions. I'm like, oh yeah, Legion represents me for the VA, and my dad was always a member growing up, so I knew there were decent times. And this is this other post across town, but here I am, and I was actually a member at that one where I was living, so I transferred. No, I was at that Legion for about a year, Woodman, then got back in touch with Ben, and he was going through a divorce, similar stuff. I was like, brother, because it had helped me. It gave me a meeting a month, Other than that, there was good times down there. So
right.
I brought Ben in about a year after, just, for him to have that same thing. And it worked out just as well for him as it did for me, and then we're both involved. But yeah, we didn't just typically come down there and just talk about this stuff. This was hobby, side stuff. And we did once in a while. You get a little drinking and at a good table, some conversations. Right. I just don't think you were ever around for some of them times that they did. And but again, those are just surfaceable stories with the, here's my thinking on that. And it'd blow people's minds. But that was about as far as it would go.
Right.
Worst place to talk politics or religion is where, at the bar. So
yeah. Well, actually, this isn't a bar now, but no kidding.
It's a club.
God organization. God loves you and Ben tremendously somehow because he's guiding you. And I'll tell you what, I thank you from my whole heart for waking me up. Even though, I worked a lot of security stuff when I was in the military. You know that, Mike.
Yes.
And I really, in all honesty, I had my fill of anything about the government and their twisted ways because, I physically seen that for years, and you get sick of it. You don't. I guess the phrase is, you dislike it so much you try to remove it from your head. I guess is that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's terrible to watch and see what they do. I mean, this was 40-some years ago and seeing that. That's why I didn't want nothing to do with anything. And then here comes Mike and Ben and waking me up again. So God bless you, Mike and Ben. Thank you very much.
I just want to say, a lot of people don't believe in things because of the fact of, like, interesting story here from about 4 or 5 years ago with a good personal buddy of mine. And I was like, getting him on board with some of these conspiracies, as people will call them. He's like, I just don't get it. So what? Everyone in the military is involved, or everyone in the FBI? Because when they say FBI is this and that, it's like, so all of them. If you get in the FBI, it's like part of the hiring process. They're going to ask you about this one crooked case, and then you're part of it. No, I was like, no, dude, it's called compartmentalization. Only takes a few people up in those key positions to twist and flip things. Rank and file are always good. Military as well, And he was like, ugh. So that's, even people like us that were in, it's like, it's not just blatantly there for the military aspect. It's still rogue. I mean, the soldiers never know why they're somewhere when the guns are handed to them and they're like, get out of the helicopter and go fight. It's like, why are we here again? They don't know that. It's just like the other guy on the other side shooting back. These are the pawns. People that go to war aren't on the know-how of making, it's folks,
Exactly.
It's compartmentalization. All right. I can break that down as far as like, well, how do they build these deep underground military bases the size of huge malls or cities without the word being out so generically in the public? Well, they'll hire these contractors. They'll hire a guy to come in and lay some concrete there for this big project that's going to take 5 years underground. But they only give that guy 10% of the overall contract bid. He's only going to pour one corner of this whole foundation. And then him and his crew leave to never come back and never see anything to do with that project. So they don't really know what was going on. Then they'll have somebody else come in and pour another 10% of the project. They'll hire 100 people to get that project done and only give 10% of the work and job to them. What does that let them know? Not much. Not much. Even when it comes down to when the whole area is built and concreted, now you got people coming in and putting in some network or some fiber optic, and it's just going to be a small chunk. They're not going to really know the extent of what's going on there. That's just how it works. All right. So it's compartmentalization. It's very easy. You can do that with job flow. You can do that with information. You can do that with everything. And that is the structure that the military government uses. All right. Look into it. Compartmentalization of information.
Hidden facts.
Hidden facts. And only somebody that can sit at a computer and has the access can, in certain level, like Q level or top secret TSI, you can sometimes see a much larger picture. And when you can see 80% of an idea instead of 10, you start getting a lot more understanding of what's going on. So these people, when I've argued with people like, look, there's a higher intelligence or higher level intelligence, and they take that to be like they're dumb. Like, well, you're calling me dumb, and that this guy over here is smarter than me. And I'm like, no, I don't mean that at all, intelligent wise. And people start taking it for intellect. I'm like, no, access, seeing things that you're not able to see. And since they don't have that in their realm, sometimes people forget that there are things kept secret. And I'm not saying somebody with like a Q level clearance would be God, but man, they have a bigger picture. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you don't have to look at them that way. But if they start talking, if they come into a room and they're going to tell you things without breaking protocol on security information, but they can guide you, I'd listen up a little bit. I wouldn't be like, well, what I think is this, and start pitching back to him based off what he's telling you. I'd listen a little bit more to somebody that's in the room that has these clearances, because they have a bigger insight of the fuller picture. So that's why it's always baffled me. It's always baffled me, Woodman. These people that are 20-year, 30-year military, intelligence communities, and then they leave the military retired, and then they go work for one of these 3-letter alphabetical agencies. They do another 20 or 30 over there, and they're credible.
Yes, sir.
This whole time, 20-year, 30-year military, credible. 20-year, 30-year into the CIA or FBI, credible. And the minute they start talking at 60 years old, what a kook bag, whack job, he's a conspiracy. Whew, that guy knows something. He's been around for 60 years in the communities. He was compartmentalized, even though he was in those branches. He was even compartmentalized person on a need-to-know basis, but he was able to figure things out. Maybe one of the last jobs he did, it didn't quite mesh well. Just like the one guy on his deathbed said he helped paint Building 7, 5 years before it went down. This is the third building on 9/11 that went down with no plane hitting it. See, when the first plane went down and then the second plane went down, everyone that you'd argue with that didn't know anything because they watched mainstream. It's very powerful to be watching mainstream and see a building crumble down into dust, and the mainstream at the same time to be telling you what you're seeing here is a plane hit that building, and then the fire burned out of control so hot that it melted the steel, and then the building fell. So they were able to program you by showing you an image and then telling you what it is. Most people have never seen a building fall like that, so they got to be told. Instead of, this is a controlled demolition, what you're watching here. And they're not going to tell you. They're going to tell you what they wanted you to think. So, people are like, well, man, that plane hit way up here on the, 30th level. And okay, even if it did melt the steel, it only melted it right in that small little area up there. How did the whole building free fall into dust? It doesn't happen, right? So even after you buy that story, if you bought it, then you can turn to building 7 that day and be like, well, what about the one that fell, the third building that fell that day? The third building that fell. No plane hit it. There was no gas that got, no volatile gas fuel that burned really hot. It was just an office fire. Even when they show the building that day on multiple cameras, you don't see it burning out of control. You don't see fires coming out of the windows. So evidently it was just an internal little fire on one of the floors, but the whole building fell free fall. Why do we pay companies millions of dollars to wire them up and then let companies come in and take a week, 2 weeks to get it all wired up, and we pay them $1 million to demo buildings so they fall in their footprints? Why don't we just start setting office fires? These buildings will free fall into their own body, into their own footprint.
Well, you've seen the glass from the windows, prior
Light
to the
up.
top coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that plus you've seen that the glass is like fly out. I mean, it's just like as it's coming down. Yeah, come on, man. It's like President Trump even blew the whistle on that. We're talking about the ones that the planes did actually hit. He was saying that structure was the strongest they've ever built, I believe, where they put the steel on the outside, not focused around the elevator shaft and so forth. And he said it's impossible to do that. It's an impregnable building. That's why they had to blow it from the inside out.
See,
cover up.
Sand Darling 1. I didn't know about the other building until I saw your video. Okay, so that goes to show, folks, you got to remember, we had, supposedly, I'm just going to say supposedly on all this, supposedly a plane hit the Pentagon. That's one plane. We had a plane hit, and that did a bunch of damage to the building. Then we had a plane hit Tower 1, it went down. A plane hit Tower 2, it went down. Exact same scenario. Then we had a plane that supposedly went down in Pennsylvania. They told us that it was Patriots or people on board took back the flight and this great heroic story. When in all honesty, I think it was one of our own jets took it out of the sky because, we had one scrambled. I think that'll come out, and they didn't want to bring that up because that's kind of like, they didn't have to take it down. We'd have people argue that they didn't need to take it down, but whether Patriots on board took it down, that's the official story, or whether it was shot out of the sky, and that's why it looked like a bunch of debris in that field. Looked more like it was shot and blown up in the sky than it hit the ground and broke apart. Because that thing was in pieces. I would say either way on that, whether it was shot down or it just went down. But what was the destination of that? If you had three buildings wired up, now they tried telling us, I think most people, that one was on its way to DC. Well, if you look at the actual flight of that plane, wherever it took off from, maybe it was to go to DC. That's where it was supposed to land. But I don't know about all the flights, the ones that are hijacked, they'll just take them wherever. Like the ones that rammed into Tower 1 and 2, where were those supposed to land at? New York? Or were those supposed to land in Maryland or Pennsylvania somewhere? I don't know the end destinations. But I believe the official narrative on that one that went down in Pennsylvania, people have said it was supposed to be going to DC and hit maybe the White House or something, or the Congress. Fine. It never happened, but I'm just saying I'm thinking it was supposed to go to WTC 7 because they had 3 buildings wired up that day in New York, 1, 2, and 7. You had 2 planes hit 2 of them. People would act like those buildings never would have went down unless a plane hit them, and that the gas burned so hot and melted the steel, gave the building ultimate, overall destructural failure. Bullcrap.
Right.
You look at Building 7, a 50-some foot high rise, really same thing, really beefy building, and no plane hit it, and no fires, no gas, and it fell down in the same fashion. So I believe, and I believe at 5 o'clock they hit the button like they had nothing. Like, damn it, we're supposed to have that plane hit, but these damn Patriots took it down in Pennsylvania. Now we don't have a plane, but we got a building wired. So they hit it. They hit the button at 5 o'clock and took it down at the not at 9 a.m. and 9:42 a.m. like the other ones, or 10. By the time they got hit at 9 o'clock, 9:40, and then they went down by throughout the day.
Right.
This one got so little coverage. Like this person just commented here, I didn't even know that until your video last week. And I'm like, see, I mean, there's still people that don't know about this 3rd building, but no plane. And other people will argue you in the face about the other 2 only going down because of planes. Like, they shouldn't have went down like that. Well, a plane hit them. And then there was volatile gas. And then you're like, well, what about WTT 7? What do you mean about that? What happened with that one? And then they'll tell you all kinds of things. The early on stories were that they were storing lots of fluids in that building. No, it's like there was paperwork in that building for the Wall Street crap going down. That was an actual federal building with like ATF, CIA was there. They had all the paperwork going on there for the corrupt Wall Street crap that was happening back then. And then the building goes down. Yeah. And then, they try telling you everything. Who stores a bunch of volatile gases in the basement of some building where there's a bunch of federal agents? No, that doesn't. So there was lots of rumors coming out early on. What's the truth? I don't know, but I'll tell you, it all stinks to high heaven. And we're gonna get to the bottom of it. Somebody just said Trump said it in an online interview or on TV interview years ago. He has said, I got a video out where he calls out Osama bin Laden 2 years before. I'm telling you, folks, these storylines must have been something circling around the elites. Like Trump, we know Trump doesn't do drugs or doesn't drink. Everyone can test to that. So he always had the advantage when he'd go into these party rooms where these other elites like to puff on cigars and drink a nice 2,000-year-old whiskey and get loose-lipped. And Trump would take that into advantage, I think. Somebody was probably telling me, what they're going to do? We're going to the war in the Middle East next. There's going to be some guy we're looking for in a cave. I think it's Osama bin Laden or something. And Trump called it out 2 years before. He had a book come out in January of 2000. And that would have meant if the book hit the shelves in January of 2000, that meant the book had to been written sometime in 99, all of 99. So he's writing a book in 99, able to put in there this chapter about there's going to be a guy named Osama bin Laden. They're going to blame him for a bunch of stuff, and then he's going to go hide under some rocks, and we're going to keep looking for him, and then more time's going to go by. And then after a few news cycles, we'll be off to some other big bad terrorist. And Trump, I was like, holy crap, 1999, he wrote this, and how did you know?
Right.
Because he listened. He listened to people talk and tell him what was going to happen. See, everything's planned out. He talked about Obama not being born in the U.S. He knows this. He talks about 9/11. He talks about a lot of stuff, folks, that he seems to know the truth about. And he's letting us know. Exactly. That's why they hate him. That's as simple as that. He said it. I'm a former insider. Now these people are pissed at me because I'm telling you.
Yep.
That's as simple as that. Why would he do that?
Petey. I think it just got to him finally. Oh. Look, I said before, remember?
Depends on what you want to be remembered for.
Yeah, well, here's the bottom line, I really think. He has to live somewhere, Mike. And the United States is still the greatest country in the world. And he wants to live somewhere. He's got to live somewhere. Well, if he didn't do something about the deep state, then just imagine what our country would be like. Then he wouldn't want to live here. Where would he go? He wants to make America great again for everybody, not just for him either. But bottom line is this: he's got to live somewhere, and if he's going to live somewhere, he wants to be safe and be able to enjoy his family like everybody else could. Uh, like I say, that's probably that's a bad excuse, but that really makes sense about wouldn't you? I mean, if you knew it was coming to a head, and you wanted to stop that infection, you know what I mean? Uh, Jump in and do it. So therefore, you don't have any more zits. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
got to live somewhere. You got to be happy. You got to have your family there. America is the only place in the world you can do that, and he just wants to keep it that way. There's nothing wrong with that. The Democrats and the deep state don't like it because they already had this big idea over pretty much in being part of this one world order that they've been talking about for a long time. We don't want that. We got a guy that's going to take care of that. Fayetteville rally. All right, that's where I was in the service
7
at.
p.m. tonight.
Ooh, we all right.
So possibly do that. I am, unfortunately, for sure. Hold on here. Get my done. Probably doing rallies on the other channel, folks. It's done nothing but cause us issues. I love the Trump rallies, love doing them, but for some reason, there's a lot of haters out there, and they hit the channel. We get so I show one Trump rally, and then we go down for 3 months. It just sucks. So I'm done doing that. Maybe over here we'll have better luck, but if I show the rally here later tonight, I'll probably do it. It's just going to have to be, there's not going to be anything other than Trump talking. That's one thing. Cause I mean, they hit you quick on any little, see when Trump's sitting there before he comes out and they got the camera shooting to the stage. And then sometimes all these other people come on, his son, all these other people from the state that they're in. They'll show them talking, but then they'll cut off. They'll go to music, and the next person comes up, and unless I'm sitting here at the computer for like a 5-hour block and perfectly on top of it, they hit us up with the music that's played or any of that. So then if I just have music up, people are upset that they see somebody talking, they can't hear it, and I'm just trying to wait on Trump. So we'll figure it out. But man, it's rough, and it causes issues with the channel. It takes us down. And that sucks to show a Trump rally on one. Yeah, right side news broadcast or broadcast news. And I've used to borrow their stream, but they hate it too. They don't like us using it. So, all right, we're gonna shut this one down. We're right at the hour mark. Computers seem to be all right. I do want to shut it down. I think I need to update. I got a new graphics card, folks. Really expensive, but really doing the job. It was all good to go. I popped and played, plugged it in, did everything. But ever since this Windows update 2 days ago, I've been having glitches. So I don't know what's going on. I hate updates. Everything always works great, and then you get this update coming. I'm telling you what, Woodman, the update like knocked out the software we use. Like I couldn't even hear anything in this software right here. Like I was, something major happened, and I had to play with it for about an hour and got it back up and running, but it still doesn't seem to be 100% right. So, but I hope everything was good for you guys out there. Yes, check out all the links down below, the P.O. Box. Thank you all for being here. Dreamer, Christine Miller, Face. We got Face is one of our mods. And Darla, Sand Darling, Gorillin, Debbie Hamilton, Bill Pennington, Janine Miller, Margaret Dell, Joanne Bast, Amy the Mod. You guys, these are some of the greatest patriots. Again, Amy the Mod's got a channel. Make sure you check her out. And again, prayers for Watchful Warrior. We're sending him his way, and we can't wait for him to get back. We'll do another show with him. I know they were looking forward to that. So, all right, brother, Woodman, great morning coffee. Truth Talk Monday, get you some. It's Undies Mondays. Undies Mondays. So
yes, indeedy, Petey, man. I hope everybody has a fantastic week. It's a great way to start it off. Coffee in the morning, listening to me and Mike just jabber jaw. You bet. That was great. That was great.
All right.
Pray, everybody. Pray, 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 pray. Grab your neighbor. Love fellow patriots. Hang on. We're going for a rough ride. And I just can't wait. Yahoo, Yahoo, Yahoo.
All right. Yep. No, we'll, yeah, we'll make a decision. I'm pretty sure on this Patriot, I've never had any issues with the rallies over here. But who knows? We'll see. We probably won't risk it. Just, we'll have a show before or after or something. But, all right. We appreciate it, you guys. And, we'll see you tomorrow morning back for another live one for sure. If that's the next thing off this channel. Woodman, good morning, brother. Patriots, you guys have a great morning into your afternoon. And we'll see you back here real soon on the next Patriot Hour.
So it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can